Hello and happy Super Bowl Sunday. I am here today. I'm going to be joined by Nicole Smith, who is the author of Game On. She is by far the most resilient and persevering person that I've ever met. Nicole actually has tried out for probably at least 20 times for 11 different professional and semi-pro sports teams and has become a professional cheerleader 4 of those times. She is absolutely amazing. And what's really exciting, though, is with all of her perseverance, with everything that she did, no matter how many times she tried, no matter how many times she didn't make it, she took all of that excitement and actually turned it into writing a book. And I cannot be more proud of Nicole. We've known each other for probably 10 years, I think. And she's just really an inspiration. And so I'm really
I'm really
excited.
excited.
Here she
Here
is.
she is.
Hi.
Hi.
So, and oh my gosh,
So,
and tell me what you're
tell me
wearing
what you're
because I
wearing
think that
because
you're
I think
actually
that you're
in
actually
your Palm Beach Mako's cheerleading uniform.
Yes, well, I'm actually in our practice uniform because we do have a Super Bowl situation going on later on today. So we have to go and practice and then get full hair and makeup on and just go, cheer some people up and get them ready for the big game. So, yes, I am in uniform. Go Makers!
That's fantastic. Every day. Well, tell me though, tell me your story. How did you get to this point? And it sounds like my mic's breaking up, so I'm going to let you talk and tell me everything.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Well, I think just your commitment and your perseverance. I know this has been like 10 years, lots of successes, lots of things going on. So tell me about that and how you keep going.
So basically, like a lot of people, I have a 9-to-5 job, 9 to 5, and not throughout the whole time. Like the job that I have now, I absolutely love, but it was not always like that. So I was always looking for something to, like, how do I express myself or how am I happy, like, after the 9 to 5? And that's how the whole dance thing kind of came into play. And I was dabbling around with it, and I went to a Dolphins game one day, and I saw this gorgeous girl, the cheerleaders on the side, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could do that. So being the competitive person that I am, I went to the audition. I didn't make it, and I was like, that's okay. I'm going out next time, and they're going to take me next time. Well, fast forward, 10 years and 22 different auditions later, I still haven't made the team. I still keep showing up, but so much has happened in between that.
Well, now the Miami Dolphins team, right? Because you've had 4 other teams in the meantime, though, pro or semi-pro.
Right, exactly. So I was able to be, so many things that happened in those years. In the middle of it, I ended up moving to Houston, and somebody had come to me and they're like, Nicole, the soccer team is starting a new dance team and you should try it, like you're a dancer. And I was like, well, kind of a dancer, but maybe, I don't know. And I wasn't going to go. I was not going to go to the audition because I had been cut so many times and rejected so many times up to that point that I was like, who needs all that?
Well, and you always made it to the finals, though, right? So it wasn't like you showed up and didn't make it at all.
Right. So it's not like, I didn't have something. There was something that I had because I made the finals for just about almost every team that I tried out for. I made Dolphins finals twice. I made Lovable's finals once. I made it past a couple of rounds in the Heat. I made it past a couple of rounds in even for the Texans. But I could just never get over the hump. So that's why I was like, So when I went and I tried out for this team, I really wasn't in Houston. I wasn't going to originally do it. I was like, you know what, whatever. What can it hurt? I can't lose anything else. Long story short, it was crazy, but I made it. And it was one of the best experiences ever. So then after that, after it's kind of like that whole thing where they say it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved before. Well, same thing. So you make this team right now, you know what you're missing. So you're like, oh, I got to get back on another team. And I was moving to another state. I was down. That's where I ended up meeting you. I ended up moving up to Chicago. And so I was just looking for any dance team that I could find, because it's also a really great way to make instant friends, because you're allowed around people who have the same goals, same desires, that whole kind of thing. So I just started trying out for all these different teams, and I wasn't making pro teams, but I was making semi-pro teams, which is still, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. You know, they practice just as hard. You're still going through and you're learning. It's a perfect training ground to get to the next level anyway. So
Nicole, I'm going to call you out too. I know on public Facebook. Do you mind telling me how old you are? Because I also think that it's something that you are not giving up on.
No, I am not giving up. I am now.
I don't even know. I'm not going to tell you how old I am.
I am either 42 or 43. I forget. I was born in 75. I think I'm turning 43 this year, or maybe 44. I don't know. I lose count. But I'm getting close to my mid-40s. Let's just put it that way. And the great thing about it is these experiences have done so much, especially as we get older and, you know, you have children. I have a 21-year-old. Hey, Sierra, if you're listening. But it's like as soon as we get older, we start allowing excuses to come in and give ourselves excuses to let ourselves go, not put ourselves first anymore. Well, not even anymore, but just not putting ourselves first and not taking care of ourselves, or not even going after our dreams. For whatever reason, society is like, you know, once you hit 35, that's it. And God forbid if you have a kid, you can no longer go after your dreams, you know?
Right. And some people stop because of what society says.
Right. Well, you know what? Society says a lot. And then they go home and do whatever, and you're the one that's left unhappy. So you know what? Forget that. So yes, I may have not necessarily made Miami Dolphins, but I've tried out so many things so many times, and I've learned so many things. And the greatest thing about it is I'm very much a goal-oriented person. So I need something to go after. So, you know, if I don't have a goal in mind, it's harder for me. So I really do this as a way to really stay in shape and to work out, because I know at the audition, you have to be able to, you have to look great, you have to talk great, you have to dance well. And so, you know, it makes it a lot easier when I know, okay, the audition is in 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, man, I don't want to get up today. You know, it's 5:45 in the morning and it's 65 degrees outside, which is cold for us. I know it's like sweater. For y'all. Yeah. So, but it's like, so it makes it, you know, when you wake up and you get out of bed and it's cold, and then you think, but I have this audition. It's just, you're like, all right, I'm going to get this done. And it's a lot easier to put down that third brownie. I'm sorry, did I say third? It's a lot easier to put down the brownie when you know in the back of your head you are working towards a goal. So it helps keep me in shape and work towards things.
Well, and I thought what was amazing though is because I would see your posts about not making a team, and then I saw this book which was telling other people how to audition, which would learn so much, and dreams. Tell me about the book. That was amazing to me as a way to take that experience of not achieving or not getting and turning it into something so positive.
So here's the thing. I always wanted to write a book, and I've always wanted to be like a motivational speaker, and I always wanted to encourage people and do things like that. And I always thought, well, once I make the Dolphins, once I make this team, then I can write my book and I can go out and encourage people, blah, 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 blah. Well, after the 9th time trying out for the team and getting cut, I was like, you know, there's a good possibility that I may never make this team. And if that's the case, does that mean that I can't ever write my book? So I started really thinking, I've got to figure out another way to be able to write this book and encourage people, regardless if I make this team or not. And so then I started thinking, you know, a lot of times there's a lot of books out there about people when they make it, and this is what I had to do to get there. But there's not a lot of things out there who you know, talking about people who are in the moment right now with you and still are not sure if they're going to get there, but regardless of if I'm not sure or not, I'm going to still keep trying. I'm just going to keep trying. I'm going to keep going, because the great thing about it is, even though the main goal was to make Miami Dolphins cheerleaders great, I've learned so many experiences, and all of those experiences allowed me to be able to have enough information to put into a book, which then helped me. It was like a segue of fulfilling my second goal, which is writing the book and becoming a motivational speaker. So no, I may have not put the uniform on yet. Maybe hopefully one day I do, but even if I don't, I still attribute all these different teams to getting me to where I am now, to be able to encourage people and really just help encourage them to stay inspired, because being resilient is vital, and you have to be relentless no matter what it is. Mine just happens to be, being Miami Dolphins cheerleader. But, there are people who want to be doctors. There's people who want to be lawyers. There's people who just, want to lose 5 or 10 pounds. There's people who just want to keep their house clean, but they're like, oh, I've got 5 kids, and every time I put one down, So the goal doesn't have to be like monumental and life-changing all the time. It could just be 1 or 2 small things that is really just helps make your quality of life a little bit better. And if it makes you happy, then by default, your family is going to be happier and people around you are going to be happier. So why not? I mean, and the thing about it is, it's definitely not easy. There's nothing. Let me tell you, it's embarrassing for me. Almost, it's embarrassing going back into that audition, because now they know you. They know your name. They've seen you. They know how many times. The last time I was at the audition, they were like, "Oh, your daughter's 21 now. If you're gonna come to the next audition with you." Mind you, when she first started, when I first started auditioning, she was like 4 or 5. She's now 21, and they're like, "Oh, are you gonna bring her to the next audition?" I'm like, "Oh my, come on, guys, come on." So it's hard to pick yourself up every time and keep going back. But you know what? This is my dream. If they cut me, they go home and they go on about their lives. And if I don't pursue my dream, I'm the one that's not.
It does seem like you really have to have a sense of confidence to not be bothered by other people's comments, for sure.
Well, you grow into that. You become numb. Because let me tell you, you're literally standing in front of people who are judging you. And then you always grow up learning you should never judge people. You're literally being judged on how you talk, how you present yourself, your fitness, all of those things. And the great thing about it, which is it's almost kind of like a catch-22, right? Because they will never tell you why they cut you. It's not like, oh, you got cut because you fat. You got cut because this. They'll just at this time.
But was it because you had mustache hair?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
in the book. I didn't bring that up.
So I mean, that was a little bit different, because that was one time that I actually went up and I asked for feedback, and she was like, "Well, you might want to fix this before you go to finals." Okay. But it was like. But the thing, that's the other thing that becomes challenging, is because every year they'll just say, "Thank you for coming, but this year is just not your year." But they don't ever tell you why. You always have to then kind of figure out, well, what did I do, or how did I do it?
But I know you got to actually go cheer. But people don't think the way they expected. What's your process for absorbing that and then going again?
It's really hard. It really, really is hard. But at the end of the day, I look at, okay, where is it that I want to be in life, and what makes me happy? And I have a choice. If I didn't make it this time and it didn't go the way that I wanted, I could sit here and dwell in it and be, what do they call it? A negative Nancy, and just be sad about it all the time. Or I can make the choice to try again. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but it's one of those things that's just, the more you start doing it, the easier it gets, and you manage your expectations. You just learn to, I guess, cope differently. I approach it differently now, because there's many times, because let me tell you, there's times, and that's the other thing, with this whole thing is, there are days or the teams that I just knew I wasn't making it. I was getting cut. That's the team that I would make. And then the ones where I was like, oh, this was the best audition I've ever had. I was kicking past my head. Abs were tight. Blah, blah, blah. They're like, thank you very much. Go home. And you're like, what? So the thing is, you just never know. And that's just how life is. When you're going after the job that you want, it comes down to you and 3 different candidates. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the fact that you were not qualified. You could be the best qualified, but you may not necessarily fit into the culture of the company. That doesn't mean that
and the only surefire way is to not say, look, you actually have some fans who've been commenting. So Sherry and Mahendra say you're absolutely amazing. And Kristen's with us too. If anyone else has questions, please feel free to ask.
So one of the things that, like I said, it's definitely not easy. And one of the things that I really like to tell people that really, really helps is to have a great accountability partner. And not everybody can be your accountability partner, right? Because sometimes your family doesn't necessarily agree with what you're doing. I have a lot of people, they're like, girl, you're 43 years old. Why are you trying to be a cheerleader on the side?
After 9 times, you've got to have people who stop. And that's what I do wonder. What do you do about those people who just don't get that burning desire?
Usually, so it took a couple of years to kind of figure it out, but eventually I just came up and was like, look, it makes me happy. It keeps me out of trouble. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me happy. So if that isn't enough for you, then I don't know what to tell you. Go figure out something else.
That's
about them, not about me. But the thing about it is, what they also don't understand is the opportunity that it gives me to be able to encourage people and help people. And I'm doing everything that I've wanted to do. And on the side, it forces me to stay in shape. And that's a health benefit, because you start learning.
I had to slip that in somewhere. Because I've mentioned it like 12 times.
I worked this, and just in case I had to show them, I'm prepared. Just in case. But it encourages me to stay healthy. And let's face it, right? Like, I am still, up until about a month ago, was still on the market. So I had to make sure, I was still in working form. I got to attract somebody, But so the importance of having that accountability partner, because like I said, sometimes your family or your friends, they're out of love. And, you have to understand they're doing it out of love because they really want what's best for you. But sometimes it's not